part of this time also is we meet Tuan Raf and Tuan Tom. Now this is the cool thing about this is, remember growing up, we were the guys who were always delivering information because we were the guys who saw the crazy stuff in the neighborhood, and we were the guys also coming up with a Filipino martial art that was riding with all these experiences as we came up, which eventually became a system, right? Because that's how systems are made. You got a whole bunch of crazy experiences, and then people ask you like, "Can I roll with you? Can you teach me how to protect myself?" And it happens a lot, and eventually you create all these different paradigms of delivery, and then it becomes a system, right? But it's the experience part. Like a lot of the times we had friends who were in the same neighborhood, but they weren't martial art guys. Like they didn't train to fight against it. So we were never getting any feedback from them. So now you meet guys like Tuan Raf and Tuan Tom, and they got the same stories. You know what I mean? Tuan Tom, same thing. Like Tuan Tom, like way more stories, like battle stories, like crazy. You know, everybody has scars from fights, and he ever showing scars, like gunshot wounds, stab wounds, and these are Tuan's main guys, like right under them. Like it's Tuan and there's these two guys, and incredible. Like now we have another crew of guys that we can talk to, and talk about these stories. And so, oh, I remember did this, and oh, I tapped here, and I grabbed this guy here. And there's more than one of them. You know, it's not just Tuan Raf, Tuan Tom. Then you get like Tuan Harley, who got the same, you know, grew up the same way, crazy shit. Oh yeah. And then you have Tuan Mark Conroy. You know, we like Tuan Mark. He's first of all, he's crazy combative, highly skilled, black belt jiu-jitsu, right? But he's like small like us. We're not really big guys, right? And dangerous. But the stories, like they don't, because if in our world, if you tell stories to people who haven't seen it, they'll look at you a certain way, they judge you for it. But these guys will be like, so how'd you do that? So the guy stabbed you this way, how'd you get it? Oh yeah, I did it. Well, I moved too early and he caught me in the hand first, you know. And this time I waited a little, and I pulled the shoulder back a little, and I catched it, and then it fell right into the trap, and I caught him. He struggled for it, he punched me once, and I cut him, you know, like, and that's it. It becomes like a technical conversation. Whole crew of guys now that seen what you've seen. Some of there's even more, like more experiences, and now you get to hang out, you know. So it's kind of cool. Like no one judges you, no one judges your if you got beat, no one judges if you won, and they're just talking. You know, you fight enough, you're gonna get caught out there. Like, you know, it'll be the guy with a gun in your face from far away, and you're like you don't have your weapons on that day, or you didn't train to throw that far, or between something. Like everybody has their days, you know, and now you got these guys like Tuan Tom would talk about his bouncer stories, and then Tuan Harley talk about his bouncer stories. Tuan Harley also has like cool stick fighting stories, because you know we're talking about world-class stick fighters in this crew. You know, like these are the guys, like these are the best stick fighters that we know. You know, and oh yeah, Tuan Raf talks about growing up in the South in the 70s and 80s in Florida, the racism and the fighting, and man, it's and we get that, you know, the racism thing, because a lot of our little scraps, you know, it's not because we're getting, you know, a lot of people trying to get over you, trying to rob you, trying to steal your jacket, but a lot of it is based off of you know, ego, off of racism. People call you chink, people this, and you don't like it after a while, and then you wind up going at it, you know, like.
And they have to pay.
Yeah, they. Well, in that neighborhood, in a neighborhood like that, you can't let them push.
You can't let them just let them do stuff, because it gets worse.
Yeah, you can't let it go, and we were known for being very violent. It keeps a peace, you know, that kind of violence keeps a peace. But those stories, you know, it's you know, Pamana Toan had them, my dad had them. Now I'm rolling with a whole bunch of other guys who are highly skilled, and they all have these stories, and they're all professional teachers. You know what I mean? Like they're already doing the business. They're in the business that we want to get into. So now, like every time you meet somebody who does something better than you, they become your teachers. That's the rule. Like you can't bullshit that you know as much as them. You just can't. They're like, all right, I need to roll with these guys. So that's kind of like that's the game.
Super successful at whatever they want to do, they're doing it.
Yeah, like Tuan Tom was already doing this full time. Like there was no jobs anymore, you know. At this time I was still working, and I would be teaching, and I remember calling Tuan and say, hey, Tuan, what's going on? He yeah, I was at work. You still working? And he would always say that. I was like, yeah, I'm still working. And yeah, you're not. Oh, okay. Keep going. You'll get there. You know, that kind of thing. Luckily, we were doing this 2003. I was already doing this full time, and this is all I've done since 2003. That's how good that training is. You know, like I've never had to look back. I never had to go back to a 9 to 5. And you know, my brother eventually started training with started teaching at Sayoc Tactical Group, so he was doing that full time. And you know, it's the lifestyle we're looking for, like that martial art lifestyle, like doing it for a living and training all the time and teaching students. But these guys are already doing it, and they were already like seasoned fighters. Like they've seen some stuff. They've seen the guns in the faces like us. They've seen the knives. They've seen everything. I mean, it's you know. And then you ask them like, oh, so what did you do? And then if it's something you didn't do, you're like, all right, show me that move. Like, how'd you get there? How'd you set up? You know, all right, you put a gun in your belly. So what'd you do? Oh, I did this. All right. Did you get it? Did you get the gun? No, it came out of his hand. I just fucked him up. Like, it's like a little chat room of like a few guys who were very, very skilled. You know, very, very skilled. So all of them are like that. The current Sayoc Tuhans, every single one of them, even some of the experience, because that's the common thing amongst us. It's the sparring is cool, but we want those lessons. Like, oh, you saw that? Oh man, that's how you did it. Oh man, the guy put the gun here, or the blade was this way, or I didn't have my blade, or my blade fell out of my hand, and once you draw the second one, and I was like, man, you're always looking for that little more detail, and that was this entire crew. You know, you rolled in with this entire crew of guys, and they were already those people. If the apocalypse came, that's the crew that you want to roll with. It's still like that to this day. It's no different. 20 years later, we're still doing the same thing. Not on the violence side, but more, you know, we have a Sayoc Combat Choreography doing Hollywood work, and we got all the stuff with the operators through Sayoc Tactical Group. Like they're still doing the same thing. You know, like Mamana Tulan said, one of the main reasons for us to get into teaching blade work, the end game is to affect lives positively. Yeah, that was it. Positive is someone comes home after a violent encounter and is not dead. That's a positive thing. Like, it seems simple, but that's a positive thing.